Dumelang sanibonani Absheni. Welcome to Men 360, a space where we interrogate, look at masculinity, rearrange, re-identify, re-explain. I don't know, but our problem is around masculinity, and our conversations are real with all generations. With all genders, abantu abafuna uncokola siyancokola ke abantu bakaThixo. Andinachuku namhlanje. I'm just having a conversation with two brothers of mine. I'm scared of what this episode is gonna become, because I've got two opinionated brothers of mine, Zwaisome and Teboho, and we are discussing we're discussing coparenting. Welcome, gents. Welcome. Sanibonani.
Sawubona but
Molo mhlekazi, molo tata.
Don't hold back, Zwai. Don't hold back.
Jackson
I
Bogas.
think I'm still taken back by the fact that akanachuku. Yeah, namhlanje for a change.
Yeah. No, not true. Because on my monologues, I usually go for two. I go to the issues and I speak my mind. Should I say I don't care in a caring manner? So but here it's more of your views, allowing you guys to share your thoughts.
But I'm curious, why us?
Now being interviewed.
But you don't hold back.
Yeah, no. I mean, it's just curiosity.
You guys are
as to why
opinionated.
us.
Opinionated at the same time, but
No, but you guys are opinionated. We always, share, a penny for a thought on different things. And I thought, and also I think I appreciate you too, as much as I appreciate you as friends, but also appreciate you as fathers. And I think you've gone through this journey, and I think there are a couple of things that we can share with the people in the Men 360 platform. But also I think it's a moment of reflection as well. Take stock of where we are as a Machita in the journey of being fathers. But also how we're doing this co-parenting. There's no script, there's no formula. Siyabhala, siyacima, there's an eraser. We exchange notes. I come to you, hey, Debs, this is what is happening. I've been asked 1, 2, 3. Is why. I'm thinking of 1, 2, 3. I've been asked this. Now when you pick up the phone, say, hey, Bongs, 1, 2, 3. So I thought. Because these are real conversations with real people. I don't want artificial conversations. We're not trying to impress people, but to say, this is how we're walking the journey. For me, that is why.
Okay.
So let's start. Who's Zwai? Who's Teboho? But most importantly, let's start here. What is a man and what is manhood to you? As you explain who Zwai is, what is a man and what is manhood? As you explain who Teboho is, to you, what do you understand indoda to be? And what do you understand ubudoda to be? Because I think for me, it's a continuous investigation on how we understand and appreciate this thing called a man.
It would be a deep one to answer from the top of my head, because I think it's a very relative yet broad question, and many of us would answer it in different ways.
But
but I would
say, when you say to the quadro, this is a man.
Okay, a man. I would say to yes, Bongan. I'm just trying to gather my thoughts. But a man, let's look at a man in the from a creation point of view. He's a seed carrier. Indoda umuntu ophatha imbewu, in the reproductive sense. But also when God created a man, he created a man in the sense of that he wanted somebody that he would trust with the responsibility of the garden of, let's say, the Garden of Eden, and the protector, of the garden, and the nurturer of the garden, and in that, from borrowing from that, I'm sure we can broaden it up, and that I would say that's what I would say indoda is in my honest opinion, but also in the context of our families, we are the people that actually bring the seed of the family. We are the one who starts the concept of the family and fathers, and we plant the seed to the to the life givers, okomama, and then based on that, it also puts you in the positioning of being the one that gives the direction, of the family. You need to guide, to guard and to govern, your family, in the society where you live in, and also the spaces that you would occupy, So I would like to think of it maybe from that perspective, and then to my kids, hey, it would differ to them as well, but to me, I would also say, Hori, I'm the one who's been given and discharged with the responsibility of providing, for them to start with. Before we can provide any other thing to them, it needs to be the provision that they need in this life, be it the material needs, the emotional needs, and also the guidance that they would need to become better individuals. Because what they would be in the future would be a reflection of what I've been pouring, into them, as the one that walks ahead of them in the journey of life.
I've picked up three things, but let's allow Teboho to. You forgot to say who is why.
Uzwai Bafet. I think the way I've evolved and continue to evolve, I've actually even lost sense of who am I.
It's dangerous.
Because one would want to first define himself from what he does for a living, which is, an entrepreneur, but I'm not that, I think I'm more, also depending to who I'm talking to, but let me just say I am a partner to my partner.
Yes,
To my partner. A father to my kids, a brother to my siblings, social entrepreneur. At some point you would understand how my life evolved around community work, community development, spiritual shaping of young people's life, and then entrepreneur, but more than anything, I think I'm just an ordinary chilled guy who loves to explore the possibilities of this life, anything that fascinates me or interests me, I get to it,
Sure.
So yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I love the I'm a partner to my partner.
Hey, win.
And
One day.
and probably one day we'll talk about how you met the partner. And how much of a beautiful journey it has been with partner.
One that needs to be documented.
Actually, not just partner, lover. You guys call each other lover.
For life.
Yeah. Teboho.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Zwei is married. He's married and it's been a long-term relationship. Yeah. I was not saying anything about you. I was just saying about Zwei. So yeah, introduce yourself.
Been there, done that, got the
Yeah,
t-shirt.
been there, done that, got the t-shirt. So, I think the most favorite thing about me, it's being a dad more than anything. I think for me it's a priceless journey. And contrary to popular belief, I think big ups to all the dads out there that are stepping up and that are doing stuff, or that are fighting to be there for their kids. We are one generation right now that is more showing up for our children than our fathers or great-grandfathers were. We're redefining this dad thing, we're redefining this husband thing, so which I think it's amazing. So, but I mean, the sad thing is what society has degraded a man to be. These days, as men, we are seen as transactions. As men, we are seen as indoda must.
I thought
No, but it's a fact.
No. What is a man to you? I said,
No, I'm coming. I'm coming to that.
Yeah, okay.
No, I'm coming to that. You know, so and the reason it's important that obviously I quote and mention what has men being degraded to from a societal point of view. It's because being a godly man, for what God has intended for a man to be and what we are has become two different things, and obviously we're living in an era where as men or as the male seed we are under attack, and we're not given the opportunity to become men to our fullness. So particularly to me, as the Bible prescribes, a man is a creator. Is someone that I think was why I put it to say, who was put in the garden, and we were entrusted with an opportunity to name things, and they become, we're entrusted with an opportunity to nourish, and we're entrusted with an opportunity to protect and provide. So which and most importantly, the world is what it is because of men. I mean, that's why right now when we're growing, you're told there's million sperms that are within you, and out of those sperms a president could come, a world changer could come and everything else. Do you understand? But unfortunately, obviously, that has been degraded these days. So that's what a man is, to me. So I'm a father, obviously, like I've said. I'm a businessman. I'm a scholar, or at least trying to be.
PhD, I'm trying to be okay.
Yeah, yeah. So and for me, it's really trying to rewrite my story and redefine, what that meant for me, because I come from a background where that was far-fetched for me. So I'm trying to mainly bring it closer so that my kids are able to know that they do not have limits, and they're able, to hopefully procreate. Because what's the first rule that God gave men, it's have dominion, and replenish the earth. So right now it's me just trying to become dominant, and in order to multiply myself, whether through my kids or through other people in society. Yeah.
Okay. Both of you reference God, so I know you're godly men, and you believe in God. In Teboho, you speak about what we've been intended to be and what we are, and I'm not sure whether you put it generally on the feet of society or the feet of the opposite sex.
In fact, before we figure up, I think from what Teboho also said, I think I'm not even sure whether it's going to broaden, because I khona la ngathi ngiyavumelana, but also ngiyaphika. Yeah, I might disagree with him. In fact, ukuthi society has degraded or repositioned men, and I think maybe I want to expand on that. Is it the society that has repositioned men, or it's a man that has lost his position in the society?
Yeah, I think you're going right. That's why I was asking the question, Guti. Is he putting it squarely on the feet of society, or when we say society, we are then putting both men and women, or are you putting it squarely on the feet of women? That's what I wanted to ask from him. But also there's a scripture I love where God says, I'm looking for men who are going to stand in the gap, so that my anger does not destroy, and it links back to your question as well, because of it juxtaposes. So maybe let's allow him, and then Zwei come back to you on your different thought on what he's saying.
Okay, I think my point is it's on both, from societal point of view and from women.
And you're on men's side as well.
No, I mean men's side are equally contributing. Okay. But to a certain extent, there's an element where men have become victims and they've succumbed to what society says you are.
Okay.
You know, because let me make an example. You know, when you in a household of a king, so when this child is told ukuthi you cannot behave like this, because ngelinye lamalanga uzoba inkosi, you'll become a king. You know, so even if this boy or this child wants to phuma endleleni, it becomes that reminder that ngizoba inkosi ngelinye lamalanga. Do you understand? I'll become a king. So therefore I cannot do this way. Do you understand? But however, we live in an era now that society has said to men, you are useless. You know, it has said to a man, you are weak. You know, has said to a man all of these things. Do you understand? So therefore, even in a case where man wants to stand and reaffirm himself, but because now we are surrounded by this negativity. Let me make an example. I grew up in a household where one of my uncles, whenever he'd rebuke me or call me to order, he'll say, you're useless and you'll amount to nothing. Do you understand? So thank God that I'm generally a strong character person, and I always wanted different for myself. And for me, I used that as a positive, you know, to spring, you know, about myself so that I can become someone, you know, in society, so that I don't become the useless person that this person was declaring that I'll become. Do you understand? But reality is, unfortunately, it's not the same with other people. Do you understand? There's people that you tell them what you're useless, you'll amount to nothing, long enough, they'll believe it. You know, and that's why even same goes to my own kids, whether it's through my helper or whatsoever. You'll never even jokingly speak ill or make an ill joke to my child. Do you understand? Because I'm raising a king, so therefore you cannot say derogatory words or this and this and that. Do you understand? So because the last thing that I want is for that child to be believing that. So therefore we now live in an era where as men we've believed what society has been telling us about what we're supposed to be as men, instead of what we are meant to be as men.
Yes, ma'am. I don't know. You're saying men have become yes, ma'am. That's why I think let's go back to your question and let's unpack that.
Now, I hear what Teboho is saying, right? And unfortunately, I don't want to agree with him because ngiyakuzwa. You understand that? But ukuzona kwami angithi ngivumelana nawe ngobe yabona ngobe
Yakuzwa mara ngikumamelanga.
Ngokulalela mara ngikuzwa.
Okay.
Yeah. So asikhulume ngokuthi from a God or from a point of view what we understand that God is the creator, right? And we are made in his image and his likeness. At least that can be a point of departure for all of us in terms of human existence and how we all got to be here, right? And from that point we understood what the first creation that God made, you know, was everything else, you know, and umhlaba, ulwandle, and then when it came to the human being, it was a man, you know, before a woman, right? And then because of he had already created these things, he gave men three things. He gave men power, gave men position, and he gave men authority. Those things were given to him after creation. They were there. There was no society that defined him. These were things that you were like, this is you. But you understand that you will rule, you will dominate, you will name, you will procreate, you will do whatsoever. You know, all those things were within him, right? And then a suitable partner was then created for him, you know, and remember that with power that you are given comes responsibility. You understand that with position comes accountability. You understand? And then with authority also comes, you know, an equally attached form of adverse, you know, responsibility to it, right? So understand, and I mean, in the man position that he was given, he was then given an instruction. That you have, you've got everything. You've got here's a room that has got everything you want, Bongani. The only things that you're not supposed to play or to touch with is 1, 2, and 3. You understand what I'm saying? And that instruction was given to a man in the absence of a woman. It's not an instruction or it's not an instruction that was given to a couple.
But that's a point of contention as well. But finish your point.
Thank you. Thank you. You understand?
I love the English. PhD.
Yeah, but
it's a point of contention.
So you were given this thing. You were given this authority. You were given this power. You were given this position, and responsibility was assigned to you. But because God saw that you were lonely, and then He said, no. It's not okay for him to be this lonely.
Yay!
Because He had also created a desire to procreate
Sure.
and intimacy and companionship. So to avoid him agcine seka molest ezilwane zami mandimcreatele a suitable partner. You understand?
Sure.
And now when there was a woman that was made, you understand, as it is happening today, women are always good at testing a man's character. You know, where you know you're not supposed to do things, they would always ask you, are you sure you don't want to do this? Are you sure you don't want to go there? Because it's in their nature to want to test up. You get what I'm saying? And because men had a one-on-one relationship and interaction with God, He understood the power, the position, and the authority that was given unto him. He had it in him to say, no, we can't do this. Excuse me. We are not allowed to do this. We are not allowed to go there. We are not allowed to open this. Or even if he's afraid to say we are not allowed, because then the woman was going to ask, who said?
Yes.
Do you understand it? Because if there's another authority above you as a man, it's another problem that exists for women.
Sure.
Yeah, and then it says, are you an absolute power to yourself, or because I don't know if you get what I'm saying. So even if he was afraid to say, or we were told not to, then you were supposed, no, we cannot, we shouldn't be doing this because I say so. So I'm asking Teboho that question in that context to say, is it the society that has then redefined or renegotiated the position of men, or it's a man who has fallen in his power, position, and authority that was given by wanting to fit to a suitable partner? Do you understand? And we can still take it from there to the modern society, where as amadoda we know what we stand for, but we often negotiate who we are to try and attract what is not suitable for us, to try and fit where we are not cut to fit in. So we then try and remold and reposition ourselves to that. So to a point where now, because we have lost our initial position from the Garden of Eden. Remember the Bible, even when you read the Bible further, it says we were even kicked out of the Garden of Eden. We saw our nakedness and so from that moment, I would say men began it. I think the fall of men began, and with every generation, we are we're still falling short of what we were created to be. That's why you'll find out that now we are co-parenting. We are raising our children remotely, and we are having children that have got identity issues, that have got all these social ills that we would equip to a young man. Even the uncle that spoke to you in the tone that he spoke to, he spoke to you from a place of being broken, as a person, and he wanted to heal himself through projecting that to you. And so for me, I would say that position, when Adibongza, a position that we have lost from the point of origin to say, who are we as amadoda? You understand? And what is ubudoda kiti? You'll find toxic masculinity, amadoda, who define as abusing umfazi as ubudoda. You understand? And we grew up at the time when the conversation amongst men was about, you understand? Because you were trying to protect ubudoda bakho. You understand? And push them around you understand? If you are unable to push them around by 20, you should be inadequate as a man. Bese sesaba nokubuza ngithi khona into ka 20 vele ibalwa njani le 20. You understand? Because all we know, we just want to hit the higher score. I mean, we just keep wanting to push the high score higher because we feel that it's going to feed ubudoda kithi, however it has been defined or being portrayed to be to us.
So why you are saying that modern society, we as men are the ones that have let ourselves down on what God has pronounced us to be, to occupy the territory, to multiply. I love it in Xhosa. Salanani nande niqhamise ilizwe eli. Of course, people then count it in spams. They would not count it in. They would not count it in rands and in cows and so on. We'll only just want to focus on the sex and the sperms part. And that's what Zwei in essence is saying. We have lost ourselves from that identity. But the script Zwei has been there. That's why he references the script, because of that's our identity. I also know and draw from that, you know. You spoke about what? The three things. You said it's
power, position,
and authority. And you said power comes with
responsibility, accountability.
And then you said the first one is
it's power.
Power comes with responsibility.
Authority
comes with
accountability. Authority, we can fit whatever you want.
So you check yes. From what Zwei is saying, and so because I this was just via Dalaros, I didn't want us to stay here, but I think also it will then help us in getting to identify the question of co-parenting. When we're no longer in the same space with the mother of our kids, what character and what shape do we take there? But before we get there, what is it that you do not seem to agree with Zwei from what he has said?
A lot of things that he has said, actually, I don't agree with.
Let's not juxtapose. There's points of contention.
Yeah.
Let's not conscientize.
Yeah. So you
access the PhD. QF level 5.
You see the beauty about a platform like this. We're speaking to different people from society. Sure. So therefore, it's important for us to communicate facts, right?
Sure.
So therefore, I think my humble plea is that maybe let's leave biblical, interning.
No, we can't because of
biblical scholars.
No,
and I'll tell you why. Let me make my point. So, for instance, Zwei spoke about the instruction was given to a man and men alone. Then from a woman was created later. Do you understand? So from a biblical scholar point of view, I'm saying that's why I said it's a point of contention, because right now it's what the Bible is being telling us today. Or the first man is Adam, and the first woman is Eve. Do you understand? Which is Adam and Eve. Which, when you look at research, it's not actually true. Do you understand? There was a man and woman who was created from the onset, and which the woman was Lilith. So who was created at the same time as the man was created? Do you understand? And therefore, this man is this woman, Lilith. No, listen. I was listening to you. So Lilith was cast out, of the garden, into the ocean. That's why even now, when you look at West African churches and the likes, they'll speak about the marine spirit or the Lilith spirit, or of the ocean. Do you understand? So it is that, and the reason mainly it was the fact of the fact that she was equally a strong woman and who was refusing to be submissive, for instance. Do you understand? So, and with that, and with that, that's why you find in the Bible there's a lot of books that were removed, whether it's Book of Enoch and this and that. Do you understand? And if ever you look at those books as well, some of the information that is there versus what's in the Bible today. It's a point of contention.
Yeah, but
so that's why I'm saying it's something that we can argue.
Yes,
but obviously that's why I want us to leave it to biblical scholars.
Yes, to you, with all due respect, a lot of disrespect is going to be dished after that statement. You understand? Valuable information, but we are not there at the moment. Let's for the purpose of this conversation, let's deal on the books that we know, which has been providing guidance.
No, when you say we know, I know
it's
those
okay.
books as
No,
well
no,
that
guys,
we've
let's
taken
let's come back.
So that's
Sorry,
what,
Teboho,
that's what,
Teboho, let
that's
me
what I'm
help
saying.
the two of you.
Hold on, let's not
Teboho, let
argue
me help.
from a point
Let me help the two of you.
of
Let me help
biblical
the two of
theory,
you. Let me
because
help the two of you.
Okay.
Let me help the two of you. Which I will not go to the merits of scholars of the Bible, because at least in the room I can say with my chest I'm the one who went and did theology. We'll come back another day. I think in the quest of having a source of reference as far as identity is concerned, and to somebody else it might not be biblical, but it could be a cultural teaching. Somebody else it could be a Quran, because of there is a location of a man in whatever God we believe in. You know, as I intend for assisting the two of us, the three of us, to go forward, because of he'll want to come in as well. And I was cutting him on the spirit of the water. Yeah. So I'm saying that in quest of having a source of reference as far as identity is concerned, whether you want to go biblical, Quran, African spirituality, and so on, there is an identity and a responsibility that is accorded to a man. And where in whatever sphere that you come from, you have been bestowed that responsibility. And that's why you would also then make, because there's some of us who are peasants, we're not coming from monarch. Somebody else might say, but I'm not from a kingdom, I'm just a peasant, you know. So why would I want to hear somebody saying I'm raising a king? You know what? But I'm saying that ours is to say, are we embedded in how we identify and where we draw identity? And with that, how then do we posture moving forward? Yeah,
But
what?
also to come in when I bongs, agreeing and also respecting Utebza and religion. His scholar, he's going to teach us further about the spirit of Lilith. Yabo. And I'm tired of Lilith. It's that also within a cultural context.
Yes.
If we were to follow our culture, those three attributes I gave out, they still stand.
Yes,
They still stand. And not even to use it as to say to suppress the females. You understand? But we say both genders have got roles that have been assigned,
Sure.
by the universe to them. And so maybe so that we also, people that follow this should not say we are only focusing on the biblical point of view, but because we come from a Christian or spiritual background, our first, books that we would read would be the Bible,
Sure.
and then debate with it. So we can move further now.
Because of the time, gents, we're going to be kicked out. Let's get to the bone of contention. Yeah, so we're going to be kicked out to the sea. We both, at least the three of us, are fathers. Unless you have renounced your status as a father, you can say. But confidently, I know the three of us being fathers. And I want us to talk about coparenting. And usually it's women who talk about this thing of coparenting, Do you guys have a blueprint that you've established, whether you established at the end of the relationship or it was a conviction before, on, just like the advert, should you die? Should we separate? How do we co-parent? Did you guys establish a script that you could share and agree on, or be the one that says, because of dominion, I'm bringing this to the fore, that they were going to co-parent in this fashion?
Yeah, I don't think there's a script in terms of co-parenting. I think it's something that you need to tell yourself, to say you're gonna be intentional about, and it's something that you're gonna do. So and let me make an example. I mean, my ex, is married to someone, and the guy, we've got such a good relationship. I mean, he comes to my house, uvula mafriji,
Which guy?
Yeah.
Which guy is that?
Yeah, no, he does. And
Your son?
no, my my ex's husband.
So Lilith's.
So
Why?
yeah. So in such a way that even last year, I mean for Father's Day, I took him to Norrox, and it was a trip for the dads, for us. Do you understand? And for me, I appreciate the fact that when I'm not there, he's a dad. Do you understand? So and I've seen some people become shocked when they discover who he is, in my life, and particularly black men. Do you understand? So and which has told me, or sometimes we become we co-parent with pride. You know, and for me, and then I ask myself, because there's a friend of mine that once asked me to say, if this guy was a black man, you know, do you think he'll be as free with you?
Or
Like,
he's white.
Oh,
Or he's
yeah.
white.
His
He's
conversion.
white.
Yeah.
White.
Oh, from the water.
Yes, yeah. So
Yeah.
you know, so and in such a way that even in his family, when they've got you know, issues or whatever, he'd give me a call to say, no, listen, dude, it's bad this month, whatever, you know, can you put or help us or help me out or whatever. Or even when he's got issues with his partner, you know, with his wife,
Your ex.
you know, who's my ex,
Yes.
he would call me to say, hey,
And call for
this
experience.
person is doing one,
How
two,
did
three,
you do
four,
it?
and 5. How did you handle her, or how did you deal with
The way-
you know?
what level were
And,
she?
He's white. He's white.
and for that, you know, I respect him, and for me that
Sure.
made me take this father thing from a different perspective. I respect him to when I'm not there, he's the father that is there. Do you understand? And that's why with me as well, with his kids, you know, when I go there, I take all the kids, you know, because what, those are my son's siblings, you know, I like it or not. Do you understand? And which for me, that has created a healthy co-parenting situation between the two families.
Sure.
You know, to say we've got our own relationship outside of my
Yes,
ex. Do
sure.
you understand? Which is the wife. You know, and that is good. And for me, that's the only obviously ex that I've got in that context.
Sure.
Do you understand? So which I'm hoping, Guti, you know, will become matured about handling this co-parenting thing, especially when the new partner comes into the picture. Because sometimes when the new partner is in the picture, Tina, we tend to become prideful or handle this thing
When you
with
say we,
ego.
do you mean men or women?
Men,
Okay.
we as men, we have this
Not generalized,
this
but-
ego and the likes, you know.
Okay.
Or sometimes you'll have women giving you an attitude because there's a new partner
Okay.
in there today, and sometimes even alienate you from having access to your child because now you've moved on, there's this new person in your life. So yeah.
Guys, I'm sorry because of we're trying to run with time. I'm gonna ngabe ngathi rude. Let's guys telelele. Yeah. So on your part.
No, to be honest and precisely to your question, Bogani, no, there was no plan.
Yeah.
Yeah, the only plan we had was a breakup plan. Just wanted out of this relationship, and it was done, you know. And later we'll find out somebody was pregnant, and unfortunately, this was more like a call for you to be back into the relationship because now you also did not want to be a person that walks away from the responsibility, you know. And then from there, a relationship was still malfunctional, but we were still trying to be together to try and allow a good space for the child to grow in. But post that, you know, when the relationship ultimately came to its knees, there wasn't any plan to how are we going to do this thing. It was a finder moment for me to be precise and to be specific. So, but because of I'm a child that was born, you know, out of wedlock, you know, and I grew up with stepdad and stepmom, you know, I don't think it was a foreign thing, you know, or it would be a first time experience to come into a situation like that where one needs to co-parent, you know, and coexist, you know.
Sure.
But there wasn't any plan, and then as we grow and we go along the journey, we tried, you know, to come together to do what is best for the child, you know, and obviously each would do to the best of their ability as far as resources are concerned, you know, and it's not an easy thing to come into, especially if it post the relationship and looking at things that transpired during the relationship or how even the relationship ended, you know, it dictates as to how things go. But as times got as times went, things got better, you know, because I suppose sonke beses healile from our wounds and our hurt, and then we're now starting to do things from a logical point of view than from the emotions, you know. So we then we were able to engage on what needs to be done for the child. Responsibility wise, education that we both want to have for the child, and certain things would want us to do them together, certain things we would assign each other as to what to do. So, but I like what Teboho has said. I think in being intentional, it's what drives it. You understand? And if mhlambe we did not have the intentions to want to be present fathers, then I think we would have made this journey of co-parenting even more difficult than what it is. Let me stop there.
Yeah. You guys speak up. Okay, first, because it's one thing from their perspective as women, as the mother of your child, but from your own logical point, did you want to be introduced to the partner, or you were okay with, I'm dealing with you, you're the mother of my child, before the good relationship, were your aspirations that, okay, now we've separated, in me sitting and imagining this thing, I think umama boy must actually masekajola ang abizosipho sibe. For instance, we had a conversation with Loiso's mom, to say yes, moving forward, and of course after the emotions were done, because the first months, and I think people should allow themselves to grieve their relationships, whether you were done wrong or you did wrong and so on. There will be that moment of resentment, and non-participating. Everyone is just at war, it's like the 30th of June, sorry. But when we become sober, then we then come back and say, at the end of the day, what we ought to do is to be, at least we've failed in our relationship, but we can't fail as parents. I think that was our conversation, and that was sobriety and logic speaking to us. And part of the things we discussed was, when we get to a particular point of a relationship, we ought to introduce each other in our relationship. So I'm trying to understand where you are sitting outside of her coming with the view. Was it or is it your desire to be introduced, or were you the one that asked to be introduced?
Let me take this one first, Debs. I haven't reached even that point. Me, I haven't.
Of being introduced.
Yes,
Do you want to be introduced?
Let's say, I think where we are at right now, I've met, there wasn't even a plan. I've met with the co-parenting halves.
Yeah,
let me call them the co-parenting halves.
Yeah.
We've met by the virtue of the circumstances, because once we moved on, or we both have moved on, there will be present partners. When my children come to my house, they come to a partner, who's their step-in mom. You understand? And when they go home, it's not like they're going to be saying, no, we went to see daddy. And, they will speak about the half that they've met in the house. You understand? But there wasn't an intentional formal introduction. In an ideal world, I think that would have worked, where we all sit down. Maybe
was it something that you wanted, Zwei, or is it something that generally you're like, if it happens, it happens? Because, we could talk about, it looks nice, but I'm trying to understand. And also it goes back to the point that Teboho said earlier on. We parent from an ego point, and probably we'll get there. Is it something that I want, or is it something that I'm just naturally like, if it happens, it happens. If it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen?
For me, I at a certain point, I wanted it to happen in a formal way. But unfortunately, I couldn't get that in response, because of my involvement in my children's life, and I would know I would know what they have a stepfather. We understand, and I would want to meet the stepfather, in a cordial setup, and for whatever reasons, it couldn't happen as I would have wanted it to happen.
Sure.
Yes.
Okay. Did you want?
So for me, it's intentional. I want to know. Who's around my child. I don't have any interest of wanting to know boyfriends. But the minute you starting to commit and now becoming a full-time person in my child's life, I want to know who this person is, because right now, for me, it's important. I'm overprotective with my kids, and generally kids, do you understand? Because this person could be a pedophile or could be whatever, do you understand? So therefore, when I'm not there, they're the person that they're going to be there. So for me, I want to be intentional about knowing who they are.
do you then draw the boundary yourself? Do you introduce the boundary yourself as to this is our child, and our child should only be introduced to not boyfriend and girlfriend but mustn't shut, or we go with the Lord's Prayer kind of a situation? Do you say, did you put the boundary yourself and said, hey, look, utlo jola, ke tlo jola, but can we not introduce our kids at this particular stage but at that particular stage? And what was the reception of that?
Okay, so I think I was fortunate in my case that I didn't need to introduce, the conversation. I think mainly because, like you said, I'm opinionated. So from even when we're dating, they know how I feel about this situation. So therefore, I've been fortunate to have exes that are able to handle that with care. Do you understand? And even maybe do a question of reassurance to say, hey, by the way, you'll be seeing this person around. They've been frequenting, or they the most frequent person, and that's what I've seen eventually to the relationship growing, to actually even the relationship being secured. So I've not been unfortunate to have to communicate that, to say this is what I want or this is what must happen. So it has something that has happened organically.
So is it something that is it a boundary you would have loved to introduce, but because of probably where you guys were at that particular time, it would not have been healthy? Or it was a question of it doesn't matter what level of relationship they are at?
I think for me, when I would use, to borrow from your word, the Lord's Prayer was how things went for me.
Sure.
Because I would not want to be in the position to dictate who she dates, and how she dates. So only thing that was more important for me was whoever she's dating, should not have an effect on the life of my child, and as a father who's always been there, I was a very dependable father to my partner. That and by the way, I'm not talking about one person, so I'm not going to say no.
Talk about
I think that we must talk about is that I'm co-parenting with 4 different women. Each child has a dedicated mother. Each mother has a mindset of their own and how they want to do things. You get what I'm saying? So I'm not going to be coming in and saying it was a one approach that worked for all of them, because they moved on differently, and our relationship was different, the dynamics of those. So while with one or two, I had an ideal situation that was working in my favor, the other one would be, an astray ship doing their own thing, their own way also, so I was not going to be able to come and say, this is what I want for all of you to do with my children and all of those things, but the least I wanted was I wanted us to be intentional parents to our kids. When it came to the needs of my children, the ones of my children, can I at least be given a front row seat, to say, this is what we need, or this is what we are thinking, what are you thinking about it, and where we agree, I take the lead in terms of making sure that I lead the thing. So again, as you're told what I'm saying, but you would also realize, it's you can't always be the one who lays the rules. The rules are going to come from the other end, because part of co-parenting, we are not only co-parenting with our ex-partners, but we are co-parenting with their families as well, so the children is a broader part of that family. So certain things we may have agreed together as partners, but only to find that the family disagrees, to certain
that can
things.
be dramatic.
Yeah, no. Look, from where I come from, we need another episode one-on-one, and maybe with all 4 of them. So we unpack this thing as well, because I can sit here and paint myself very nicely, and saying this, and the opposite truth could be something else, because if we co-parent, it's also nice, I think, to bring the 2 of us together and say what works here and what doesn't work.
Sure.
Yeah, doesn't. So there are those places where only to find which so hlangane nomjida because of senhlanganiswa ubudoda manje obujida yibo benza ukuthi ayi ithi ngibone itime lalencosi because nangithi ngiringa ne-old lady ngathi we can't find each other. That every time when this child comes from his father, there seems to be order, there seems to be discipline, there seems to be this put together for this child. But when I try to enforce these things here in my household, ngiba usathane kwami, you know. So I'm a situation njengalawo, you then allow them, you know, to bring you in and we say, okay, how can I help? Because remember, once I mean, at a certain point, I wanted my child or my children rather to stay with me. Yeah, doesn't really bad. As I'm saying again, you know, there are families that are involved in behind these mothers that would say no. You can't be allowing umntwana ahlale kubabakhe at still a young age, but it's dependable kuwe and now as a father there's also the voice that says no, awukwazi ukuthathela ubaba umntwana wakhe, you know. And somehow you find yourself in the mix of both your family and your partner's family now in your own noise that you are making. Because when we became fathers, another thing, when we became fathers, we were not intentional. We did not say, hey, I want to be a father.
I'm ready now.
Let's make a baby, you know what I mean? So we were also
Sichayisela endleleni.
Sichayisa endleleni tata. Isichayisile lento yobutata.
Yeah,
but
sure.
we rose to the occasion as best as we could. I mean, we just came from a Father's Day where I was reflective. If as I look into the journey of how I've been a father to all my children, you know, it has not been consistent to all of them. I've not been the same father, you know, to all of them the same way. You know, I could have poured more onto this one at a certain point and less on the other, and then later on more on that one and less on that one, you know, than to say I'm pouring 5 millimeter here, 5 millimeter, understand? So because there's no yardstick to this thing.
Sure.
Since you want to have all your children at in one place, only to find the other mother has planned a vacation, you know, without even telling you. So you would find of all the children, you know, chances are I would have, out of 4, I would either end up with, at best, with 3 of the 4 or 2 of the 4. Sometimes
1 out of the 4.
Or 1.
Yeah.
1 of the 4.
Yeah.
And there'll be that sense of guilt from a parent. Which here I am. I'm giving this one this life, you know, and I would have liked, you know, to give all of them the same. But because of these agreements were not in place, you know, we did not sit down and say, guys, ideally, as a father, I think once in a year, please accord me a day, a month, or whatever the day where all my children could be present.
Sure.
We understand how whatever that must pause and stop, it will pause until it will stop. You understand? Sure. And I think maybe that's where intention comes in. As now I start to see, you know, that need. It's not only for myself, but it's also for them to learn to coexist as siblings. It's very important, you know, that you try to work things backwards, you know, and say, can you afford me this day? And you are like, if they say yes, right now they are also teenagers now. The other problem is, you know, they've got their own mind, they've got their own schedules, they've got their own mind, out of in a different province, out of town, they want different things. Whereas when they were still young, when they were still babies, I would just take all of them, throw them in the back of the bike, babona phambili ukuthi give a rain show or give up. You understand? Now they need to know,
sure.
You know, yeah.
So,
No, I think what you Klagan Pines. Yeah, no. I think what Zwei said is very profound.
Sure.
And it's important, you know, to acknowledge, to say, in the midst of us being fathers, it comes with a lot of mistakes and a lot of imperfections.
Sure.
Do you understand? I think the most important thing, and what I appreciate about our friendship, is the fact that we're able to share these things. You know, I'm able to learn from his mistakes. I'm able to learn from yours. I mean, I've got my own mistakes, you know, as well. So, so for me, that I think is very important. I think the key thing, even with the viewers, it's a question of let's be intentional about being dads. You know, and where we've fallen and made mistakes, let's acknowledge those mistakes, and most importantly, have frank discussions with our kids. I mean, I have frank discussion with my kids about my weaknesses, and
What are your weaknesses?
where I need to apologize. I apologize.
Yeah.
To say I could show up a bit more. I could do this a bit more, or how best can I serve you as a dad? Do you understand? Understanding that you're not my friend, you're my son. So therefore there's things that are not gonna fly. So for me, that I think it's important, and that point of as well allowing yourself to be vulnerable.
Sure.
With your kids, I think it's something that is important.
For us to close, guys, I think I want us to go back to the point. You said we parent with ego, and it's why you speak about and you emphasize that it's not just a relationship, a parenting relationship between you and the mother of your child, but there are two other people, your partner this side, their partner that side. In us, at least from the couple of years of being a father and also co-parenting, in the years of being a father and co-parenting, but also just the view of society. And I'll leave the fathering conversation for another day, and I take good stock on the reflection that you said and did on Father's Day to say, actually, in the years I've been, a dad to the Quadra, I call him the Tata with Quadro A, because all of his kids are A. It's good. A sensible man sits and says, actually, in the journey of life, I've evolved and I've arrived at this point. Let me look back. Let me trace my steps. And in particular, when you're sitting on Father's Day and be like, in the journey of fathering these kids, how have I walked this journey? And of course, taking stock of the mothers, the kids themselves, the finances, the current relationship, and just society, how it just, evolves, and say, what could I have done better? And what is it I can still carry from here moving forward? And be able to say, actually, I could have skipped this one and actually paid more attention to this one around June, because winking around June, probably because of his scholar, but what would be the advice to, especially Tina Majita, in trying to make this thing? I know there's no formula and a script on being co-parenting. I'll give you an example. I don't know if I shared with you. I was saying that, no, I think I was telling Ndosh, I was saying, I've watched how the co-parenting relationship, because now it's adding another individual, Loiso's mom's partner, and actually it was going back to that thing with, probably I'm sitting there with my own ego, and probably he's sitting there with his own ego. But over time, I think we then realize, good, actually we're not coming from an attacking point, and I can see the greetings now are quite different from then, the engagements and so on, and I'm like, so it hits me with many of us, we might not be cognizant that actually we are coming with ego and pride. But what are the dangers of that, and how will that stifle this co-parenting?
Look, for many of us, Bongani, this is what has frustrated this thing, your co-parenting. That fact that number one,
Yeah.
that's the first.
Yeah.
Anybody that dates your partner after you,
yes.
he understand the only person who has
It was to why parishiwe.
Yeah, why le pari? Understand? And full paring trailer.
No, I was busy in pari when I was.
No, when I was
yes. Sorry. Yeah.
So that's the first mentality Amachita that becomes a stifling block. We understand the pari mentality and full joy le pari le yang phone ingosi yami injelenga le pari, and yet le pari present a life in ingosi yakho. In fact, before a life in ingosi yakho, it present a life in ye media or ex media, because that's where the battle is won, my friend. It doesn't matter where you come from. Abantwana, they'll always be more closer and more attached to their mothers. They understand by the virtue of being the inimba
excellence.
yandithola into le thina as fathers. That's why even nasemakhaya khaba untombazana umntwana akabikwa introducewa gini
Yeah.
yandithola into le because of when you are the seed but you did not carry this life in you. You understand? So they naturally gravitate more towards their mothers. You understand? And because of that, bese wena uthi udlala igame ongafuni ukujwayelwa yibhari. You understand? Than to use le bari to close the gap.
Sure.
You understand? Because it would be easier to say me and Teboho must first find each other and say, how are you? I don't want to get into the technicalities of your relationship.
Sure.
I hear a lot of your name in Osiniami. I don't get into it. So I thought let me introduce myself so we know each other. So should you have any other issues that you might experience in my absence, please feel free to reach out to me. That would cut out a whole lot of slack, that we experience in terms of abantwana bethu bakhule abanye singababoni for 3 or 4 months. Even the guilt that is in our kids as well when they want to talk to you as their father in another man's house. You understand? Because umntwana wakho uyafuna ukukufonela mara uyezwa ukuthi ngathi usitshontshile lesikhathi sokukhuluma nawe because akazi ukuthi what is the relationship between wena
on the other side.
Yeah, when ubiza udaddy and ubiza upapa and when ufuna ukukhatha lo papa ukuthi upapa wani ngude. So I think that's the first thing that we must just say machiteni. First, let's deal with ourselves and allow ourselves. Once the relationship has ended, we must make peace with the fact that this woman is still attractive and beautiful to other men, just like she was beautiful and attractive to you. And there's gonna be men who's gonna want to be with her for the rest of her life, including your kids. So how you view that men, you understand? And kunento Teboho ishilo athi akhuluma ukuthi uthe intanga uthi ufuna ukwazi whether bayama pedophile or whatsoever. For me, less as ngifuni tata. But because I in my view is that I also come into my present relationship with my shortcomings. That another man may say, no, I don't want a man like Uzwai near my child because of they can look into my history. But obviously, once my child starts to bring points that might be concerning around this guy or from we understand that through their interaction with that guy, then that's when I will be concerned to say, hey, angazuthi this man is becoming a problem to my child and I need to step in to protect my child. Do you understand? And because okunye, I would say the mother should have done their due diligence before they bring.
Which trusting that she did.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think for me it's I mean what Zoe said is profound. So Uguti, this person is my child's life. I think for me the key thing is the fear. Yoguti, the values and principles that I'm trying to instill in my child is the person doing the same. Do you understand? Or because I could be trying to instill values and principles and she's doing the opposite, to my child. So therefore, which that might destabilize the child or confuse the child. Or my dad says this one says this. Do you understand? So for me, it's really from that alignment. I think that is important to say. It's true to align, Uguti. How do you want, to raise your child, or how this is how I've been raising my child, whether perfect or imperfect. Do you understand? So therefore, I would like to hear your perspective on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Or they would say as well, hoping, or they would say you're raising your child like this 1, 2, 3, but 4 is not gonna work. Especially in my house. So therefore, now a child in my house cannot speak back. When on the other hand, I'm encouraging my child to speak. Do you understand? So you see, obviously, that is something that obviously that is contradictory. I think for me that usually is my biggest fear. And obviously the purified one, it was just an example. But for me, it's one of those things to say this person could be an asset, or a harm my child. Do you understand? Because that's a person that is there most of the time because they're there with the mother. So is it a person that can stomach, even if let's say they would not, it's not like I'll say yes when in, but obviously I'll have to speak to the partner to say, my concern about your partner is 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 around my child. Sure. I don't have a problem with him doing this, but can he respect the fact that this is what I'm trying to instill? Unless if ever then from she's failing and then I will step up to say, you know what, dude, can we have a chat? You know,
But it's tough when
it is tough.
But it's tough, especially because remember, we must also look at the context of the parenting itself. How is it happening?
Correct.
Are we talking about you having a full custody of your child in your house, and then they go visit the mother? Like, for example, Bongs, my son, the relationship I had with my son when my son is staying in my house. We understand, and the same thing that Debza is according to say, he knows the last man to come into this house is me, and by the time I come into the house, he would have done all his responsibilities, so it comes automatically, because we are instilling this on the daily basis. We are having this conversation on the daily basis. We go through his homework, we go through his interests and hobbies. But
hobbies, let's conclude.
But when he's in your house, the rules of engagement changes.
Sure.
You know that.
But the enemy of good conversations is time. And unfortunately, we own no time. We try to buy it with our money, but we don't own it. Gentlemen, brothers, thank you very much. That went very quick. And maybe I should have done one of you. But also I love the contrary that, is raised in between the points. But I really appreciate. I wouldn't have had this conversation with another person. I think it.
No, but maybe it will be even more interesting with our sister Lilith.
Yeah. Maybe we should extend the conversation, because also one of the bad things on us why is that we seem to be this generation that has got these opinions and this thinking of how life must be, but men and women are talking past each other. And we're hoping that the Holy Spirit, might just grab this, passing over, and then say, laba bathi ngani, laba bathi ngani, and we understand each other at first instance.
But also here's another point to ponder on.
Concluding, right?
Yeah, conclude now. Sorry.
Yeah. So for me, I appreciate, and I think you guys have raised quite important things and points, and we're coming from two different school of thoughts, or three different school of thoughts, and a number of people who are watching this would have a moment to ponder on the things that we have raised, but also have a self-reflection on how they're doing it, whether it be women, whether it be men, in the journey of co-parenting. So with that, guys, I really appreciate and thank you for affording us your time. I know somewhere they could have paid you 1,000 just for an hour of consultation, but you guys have borrowed me your time and your wisdom, whether it's biblical scholars or entrepreneurial scholars. I appreciate the time that you have given me. I do pray that God at least, pours into your cups, not just financially. I know we're always in the drag of, talking about money and wanting to make more money, but to pour in your cup as far as your mental health is concerned, as far as your thoughts, as far as the things that make you not to sleep at night, whether it be worrying about your partners, worrying about your kids, worrying about being a good father, a good man, a good brother, may he give you peace that surpasses all understanding. May we continue to be the irons that sharpen each other. I might shout at you, you might not like me when I shout. Guys have come to understand me. I'm just this nonsensical person. And I've come to understand you as, the people that you are. And I appreciate that you guys see me and understand me for who I am. And may we also continue to know and recognize each other without having to change who we are. Of course, unless we are harming the friendship. But I really appreciate you guys. And I really do. You are the people I reference when I speak with pride about the brothers that I keep in my space. You're not perfect human beings. You've got your own mistakes. But one thing I love and appreciate is the good intention that you have in doing the things that you want to do. In conclusion, I do wish you enough, and may God's grace walk with you. To you guys at home, this would not have been a Men 360 conversation without us having to reflect on men, women, and our involvement as men. The conversation around men and manhood will always and will not be full if we do not reflect and include and involve men and women in deliberating on these issues. So I hope you guys would enjoy this conversation, and we'll see you in the next episode. I really do wish you enough.